Well, your English is perfect, so... No, better than my Italian. Okay, right.
Mr. Meacher, thank you very much for answering to our questions. May I ask you, you are a very well-known politician in Britain, and may I ask you why you are here and what pushed you to come here today?
Well, I think this is one of the most important meetings of leaders of Western capitalism this year. The people here are about 130. They are all extremely powerful and most of them extremely wealthy. They are the leaders of the biggest multinationals, the biggest banks. They're here from the UN, the WTO, the World Bank, several EU commissioners and politicians from United States, Canada, EU and UK. People like this, who are mainly, certainly multimillionaires, billionaires, heads of very powerful organizations, they don't come here unless they have some very, very important issues to discuss. That's fine. What I object to is the lack of transparency and the lack of democratic accountability. They are taking decisions as the leaders of Western capitalism, which are going to affect all of us, not just the UK, but throughout the West. And we have a right in a democracy, which I still hope we have, to have transparency about what they discussed and to be held to account in our parliament, in the media, by statements being made to which they have to answer in depth. And it is the absence of that which I think is quite wrong and which actually makes one very suspicious.
Minister Kenneth Clarke is part of the steering committee of the Bilderberg. Did you ever try to talk with him about this?
Well, I will, and I have said that I intend to put down an urgent question to the Speaker on Monday, asking that a minister, probably the Chancellor of the Exchequer, comes to the House in order to account for what happened at this conference. I actually think that shouldn't be necessary. He ought to offer a statement, as ministers normally do. And it is the absence of that, I think, which requires people like me in Parliament to try to force him to do that. But it is very, very important that this should not be swept under the carpet and that decisions which could affect us dramatically for years ahead are taken without any knowledge. That cannot be democratic.
In your party, is there awareness about the Bilderberg? Is it a concern about it?
Well, I hope there is. The truth is, there's been very little discussion about it, very little in the media. I suspect not too many people, until today, when it begins to be reported, not too many people even know that it's happening. It is taking place in Watford, which in this country is a rather surprising venue. It's near London, but it's not in London. London is the obvious place, but Watford is a bit more discreet, a bit more distant, a bit more secluded, and it's a lot easier to have the security here keeping everyone else out. It's much more difficult to do that in London. So there has been enormous emphasis on trying to ensure total secrecy. And one does have to ask why.
If you had the opportunity to address the Bilderberg, what would you tell them?
Well, clearly they have come here to discuss the state of capitalism, which is their system. It is clearly in a dreadful mess. The Eurozone is not really recovering. The UK is not really recovering. The United States has recovered a bit, but is beginning to slip. China is still well below normal growth levels. The whole system is in a very serious way. A double-dip recession, possibly even a triple-dip recession, a decade of austerity, possibly even more. This, for the people who run the system, is very risky. But of course they will remember the well-known maxim, in every crisis, do not lose the opportunity. And they will be looking to find a way in the intense lobbying which is going on there at this present time between each other between the banks, the companies, the UN institutions and the politicians to try to concert a way out of these fundamental problems in a way which preserves as much as possible, or even preferably enhances their own power and their own wealth. That's their agenda, and it's an agenda that the rest of us, who may well have to pay the price, ought to know about.
The presence of England and United Kingdom in Europe, what is your view about the future referendum on this?
Well, this is a very controversial question, of course, as you well know, in this country. This country has always traditionally been the most sceptical about the UK. The Tory right, the right wing of the Tory party, I think has just gone hysterical about Europe. Europe does have its problems, we all know, but my belief is that Europe is where we belong. I think a UK which is isolated from Europe would be condemning itself, if not to irrelevance, certainly marginalising ourselves on the world stage. We have 1% of the world population. The EU takes half of our trade, and the EU, in terms of political and diplomatic matters, is absolutely crucial. And I think we should be looking to make changes in Europe. I totally agree with that, quite deep and fundamental changes, but we should be in there making those changes, keeping a seat at the table, not shouting from the sidelines.
Mr. Meacher, thank you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
The best way to deal with this crisis is to tax the rich. Did you hear that? I said the best way to deal with this crisis is to tax you lot.